Now beginning sample test 3. First question says, let x have a uniform distribution 0 to 10. Find the probability that x is between 3.8 and 8.2. For any of these uniform distribution questions, I recommend you see it as a box for the whole sample space and a shaded area for the part that's the probability we're looking for. So in this case, I look at how it's uniformly distributed. It's distributed from 0 to 10. So I mark the start of my box as 0, the end of my box is 10. Now that I have the whole sample space, I need to look at the probability I'm looking for and shade that portion of the box. I'm looking for the probability that x is between 3.8 and 8.2. So I'm going to start around where I'd say 3.8 is, go up to where about 8.2 is, and shade that area in between. If you can draw this picture, it's just about then translating the picture into a fraction. The fraction should have a numerator that represents end of shaded minus start of shaded, and a denominator that represents end of sample space minus start of sample space. So in this case, the probability that 3.8 is less than x is less than 8.2 equals on top, end of shaded area, 8.2, minus start of shaded area, 3.8, divided by end of total sample space 10 minus start of total sample space 0. I want to make sure when I'm putting this in my calculator that I understand there's parentheses around the top and bottom so that I'm doing the division last. On top, when I do 8.2 minus 3.8, I get an answer of 4.4. On bottom, 10 minus 0 gives me 10. When I divide 4.4 by 10, I get 0.44, which is the correct probability. Question 2 uses the same uniform distribution. It's just asked in terms of a word problem. So it says the time x that you wait for the bus is uniformly distributed between 0 and 30. Find to 4 decimal places the following things. So for all 3 of these question parts, I'm going to have the same sample space, a box that starts at 0 and goes to 30. So I'm going to draw it in for each of the 3 parts, 0 to 30. What I then need to do is look at the individual probability questions and ask myself what part of this box needs to be shaded. So when it says longer than 17, 17 is about here. If I wait longer, that's things that are more than 17 or to the right of 17. So starting at 17, I'm going to shade until I get to the end of the box. If this says wait less than 13 minutes, 13 is about here. Less than 13 means the left of or lower than. So I'm going to shade this part of the box. Finally, when it says between 10 and 23, I need to make my 10, 23, and shade in between the 2. If you can make this drawing, then all you need to do is know how to translate it by saying shaded area on top of the fraction, total area on bottom of the fraction. So here, the probability that x is greater than 17 equals shaded area end minus shaded area start over whole box end and start. That gives me 13 divided by 30. When I put that into my calculator, 13 divided by 30 gives me 4.3333 repeated. So I'm going to call it 0.4333 because it's said to go to 4 decimal places. I'm dropping a 3 because what I'm dropping is less than 5. I don't need to round up that last digit. Here again, when I go to set up my probability, in this case x is less than 13, on top I'm going to put the end of my shaded area, 13, minus the start of my shaded area, 0. On bottom, I'm going to put the end of the whole box, 30, minus the start of the whole box, 0. That also gives me 13 out of 30, which is the fraction I got last time. So it's still going to be 0.4333 when rounded to 4 decimal places. Finally, this between question, my probability that 10 is less than x, which is less than 23. I'm going to put on top end of shaded area 23 minus start of shaded area 10 over end of box 30 minus start of box 0. Again, this gives me that same 13 over 30. This is a coincidence. It's not like every time you're always going to get the same answer, but in this case they showed me 3 different shaded portions in the box, which all had a length of 13, so they all had the same probability of occurring, 0.4333.